What's up, everybody? You're very welcome along to tonight's late night agenda, Friday night. I appreciate you guys giving up some of your night to be here with little old me. I really do appreciate it. As I said, loads to get through tonight. I've got a list as long as, I don't know, maybe some of you have longer things than me, because if it was my thing it wouldn't be that long, but the list is long. Yeah, I do start these things in a rather strange manner and I don't know where I go with them sometimes. But ladies and gentlemen, how do we feel about the game today? I mean, mainly it was about the lads getting minutes in their legs. They did that, no injuries. Of course, there's got to be one name that we speak about a lot today, and that is, of course, going to be Naby Keita. We'll get to him in a few moments' time. Yeah, great to see you all in. It's weird. Do you know what's odd? So when people are waiting to come into the stream, I can see people are waiting. And then when I go live, the number goes down, and then it creeps back up. It's weird. I don't know if it's a little thing or... Craig, is there a way to contact me by email or something? Yes, Scotty. The same way you've contacted me by email before, mate. I don't know what to say, mate. Yes, of course. Anybody can contact us at contact@untiltledagenda.com. Simple as that, buddy. And we try to reply to as many as we can. But I don't... if it's about the website, mate, don't worry about it. It's honestly not that big a priority if you're just trying to let people know about where the... you can get tickets and stuff. If it's that, mate, just tag me on Twitter or something like that and I'll happily put it out there to people. Right, where do we want to start tonight, ladies and gentlemen? I mean... Should we do it? Should we just start off with this gentleman here? We just go straight into it. We'll go balls out. We'll go for the Naby Keita debate. What are we thinking? Keep him? Sell him? Are we overreacting from one performance? The truth is, look, I've made no secret of the fact that I'm a long-term admirer of Naby Keita, but I'm also somebody who's, I like to think, is somewhat realistic. And I was really impressed with him today. Of course I was. Like everybody else, I was thinking, oh, this is the Naby we've all been waiting for, but... You know, I don't know if I'm being overly harsh or if I'm just trying to manage my expectations here, but I'm a little bit scared to get excited about Naby Keita because I don't want the hurt that might come along with it, if you get where I'm coming from. So I'm all on board with people hyping him up and people, you know, saying how great he was and what a performance it was and hopefully we see the best of Naby Keita. I'm totally on board with all of that stuff. You know that. Anything positive, put my name down for it. But I'm just a wee bit scared, just a little bit scared to re-fall in love with Naby all over again, just in case what seems to have been inevitable injury crisis or injury concerns come back to the fore. But if the club look like they've got this right and they'll get a full pre-season, and we know they took time out last year with Naby Keita to try and find out what was causing those injuries, if we can get a run of games out of him, there's no doubt in the lad's ability. I think we'll all agree on that one. I read one comment before we started the stream tonight. I sometimes like to take a minute or two to just get a feeling for what people want to talk about in the chat, so I read through some of the comments. And there was one that I thought was a bit unfair. Now, you know, we're all reactionary. I certainly am as well a lot of the time, and I say some stuff in the heat of the moment. But there was one there, I'm going to scroll back up to it just because, not because I want to call the person out, just because I want to give my opinion. So this person's name is Shadow Company, and welcome in, mate. But the opinion was, Keita has been the biggest flop under Klopp's tenure. Just sell him and get what we can from him. And, you know, again, this is just a talking point for me to see how people feel about it, because I wouldn't say he's the biggest flop. The biggest disappointment, perhaps, I would give you that one, because we all had really high expectations. But if we're talking about flops, then it's got to be Karius, surely. If we're pushing aside numbers or anything, but Naby Keita is definitely the one that excited us all a lot when we, knew that we were getting that deal sorted, that we'd gazumped Bayern Munich and a couple of other clubs. I think, if I remember correctly, Barca were interested in Naby as well. But today, I mean, he just did it to us again, didn't he? Made us all fall in love with him all over again with that spell in the first half, because I had a little bit of everything from Naby Keita. I had a drop of the shoulder, space between the lines, good link-up play with Mane, and that, and watching some of the press box on LFC TV got me thinking about partnerships. And it was one of the points, I think it was Carl Markham raised on LFC TV about the relationships of players around the pitch. And it's not something that I often really spend much time thinking about, but you'd automatically know that Naby Keita and Sadio Mane are mates. It's publicly known. But what I've liked to see as well was the relationship that seems to be built up really quickly between Harvey Elliott and Mohamed Salah on that right-hand side. So it's not a subject that I always think of players as individuals, yes, as part of a team, but he got me thinking, Carl, when he spoke about partnerships and like that, and players do need to get used to each other's movements. So fingers crossed we will see the best of Naby throughout pre-season. He gets a full pre-season and we go into the season ahead. Now, I don't want to lie here and say that I haven't previously said if the right offer came in, would I sell Naby Keita? And I probably would, because I fear that this injury situation is only going to go on again. And, are we going to be having this same conversation in 6 months and 3 months? There are no certainties in football, we know that. But I want to gauge how you feel about Naby Keita today, because his performance was brilliant and made us all believe again. But are we going a bit too far with it? Do we think that he'll be able to keep it up? Am I being very hypercritical and negative here? Keita will come good, just need him fully fit for 20 games. The boys got everything, said Shabir. Sell Oxlade-Chamberlain, Minamino and Origi, said Spitfire. Well, we'll get on to the sales and potential sales in a few minutes, mate, because there is a few there that I want to go through, alright. Lennon said the biggest flop was Dominic Solanke. He was definitely a bit of a flop, but we got decent wage for him, didn't we, when we sold him? So yeah, maybe I look at it weird in like that as well, as like if we made 20 million profit on Naby Keita, maybe I think about it differently, whereas now I was thinking to myself, if you were to sell Naby, you'd probably take a loss. People asking about the Minamino situation as well. It looks like he's going to be staying from, what's been put out there by the media and potentially what they've been briefed by the coaching staff or whatever. It looks like the plan is to keep Taki around. Now, to me, he looked completely lost in the second half there today, and it's very unfair of us to hold him to the same standard as the team that was out there on the first half, because he wasn't playing with the same calibre of players. Second half team was more of a group of youngsters and fringe players. So I still think we could have seen a lot better from Takumi Minamino today, and I thought Cade Gordon again, I felt really sorry for the dude when he didn't get his goal when that was ruled out for offside. But yeah, Taki's a head scratcher. Do you know what? I'd be all for giving him a chance. I don't understand why we moved him on for the last 6 months of last season when the only benefit could have been in the long term for us. So, we could have probably done with him being around, but unless we reap the benefits of him going to Southampton, then, I don't see what the point of the loan was. Obviously, there's the obvious one, which could be just to sell him, but it doesn't look like that's the case, at least from what's being put out there. What have we got? Will Taki keep Naby? Sell Taki, I think you meant to say keep Naby. What's the latest with the sale of Phillips? There doesn't seem to be anything concrete yet on... let me just get rid of Naby off the screen, sorry, because I don't want people scrolling through the video or whatever and seeing Naby and still think we're talking about Naby when we've moved on to somebody else. So, in answer to your question, mate, the latest on Nat Phillips, there doesn't really seem to be any. So, there's a couple of clubs that are interested in him. It looks like 10-12 million will get a deal done. Now, on the other front, one player that looks like he's very close to a move is Harry Wilson. So, it was spoken about earlier on today, but since then I've done a bit more research on it. And, he was left out today, not because of any illnesses or anything like that. It's obviously because the move to Fulham looks like it could possibly happen. So, 10 million quid. Some people believe 12, but the main number going around seems to be 10 million quid. And like any other player that Liverpool move on that didn't quite make it, be it Grujic or Ryan Kent before him, genuinely, I wish Harry Wilson all the best if he goes to Fulham, and I hope that he can settle himself in, build himself a career with Fulham, and get back to doing what he wants to do, which is just playing football. So 10-12 million quid real money for us is pretty good. You add that into the other money that the club have brought in this summer from the sales of Grujic, Awioni, Lee Miller. Obviously we've sold Camille Grabara as well. We're starting to put together a fund there, which you can certainly go out and buy yourself a midfielder or an attacking forward, and we'll move on to some of the links to forwards in a few minutes. Lee Chappie, it's mate, you've nothing to apologise to me for it the other day, mate. It's I just, me, I'm like you fella, I don't like falling out with anybody, but I also try and keep everything in house when I have any issues or anything like that, so nothing to apologise for, mate, all good. And I hope you and the family are well, Lee, as always. Right, if we get Renato Sanchez, we would be unstoppable, said Dara Gibbons. It's gone quite quiet around the Renato Sanchez front, other than the Barcelona link. So look, let me just do a quick rundown of where we are and what we're talking about tonight. And Then we'll go over to you guys and see in what order you want to do it. Does that work? Because I'm aware that, this is the second stream of the day. Here we go. Craig is signed with That's Football, the best funny duo ever, and they paid you around 160 million euro, said Yasir. I wish they paid me around 160 million euro, but what I will say, Yasir, is the agreement for me to go on That's Football this season will probably be what enables me to go full-time at YouTube, which is a huge help to me. So I'm very much looking forward to being on That's Football for the season ahead with the lads. Won't change that in an Anfield agenda. Still be here for all the Liverpool content. But look, it will help. And it probably the last step in the process of me becoming, and I can't even believe I'm saying this as an almost 40-year-old man, a full-time YouTuber. I will never use the word influencer because it's cringy as hell, unless you are an actual influencer and somebody who can influence anything. I can't even influence my wife to turn the heating on or off, so the chance for me influencing anything else are very slim. But yeah, man, thank you. Really appreciate it. Right, so what have we got? Loads of people have loads of stuff they want to chat around. Right, so here's what we have on the schedule, and then you guys tell me what you want to chat about. So we've got Harry Wilson, we've got Liverpool keeping tabs on Frank Kessie, we've got Naby Keita's performance today. There's some talk that Keita and Oxlade-Chamberlain could both potentially leave this summer. That comes from ESPN. I don't think that's the case, but we can talk about that. There's Daniel Malin set to join Borussia Dortmund. That shouldn't be any surprise to regular viewers. I've been letting you guys know about that for ages. There was an inquiry apparently from Ben Davies about Sheffield United, even though it's believed that that's not the reason he returned to the UK. It's believed that he'll meet back up with the Liverpool squad. What else have we got? The links again, which we spoke about last night, and then the possibility of Harvey Elliott becoming a more of a midfielder than a winger, and Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain as a false nine. So as well. So look, you guys tell me where you want to start with it, and we'll go from there. I think we've done the Naby Keita stuff. In all fairness, we all worshipped at the altar of Naby today, and rightly so. He was very good. So where do we want to go from there? There is no OR news, Dara, that I'm aware of anyway. The latest I've seen on Husam Awar is that an offer of somewhere between 17 and 22 million, let's say 20 million, just for argument's sake, might get the job done to get him out of Lyon. Arsenal are, of course, interested. Liverpool have been linked to him by the very respectable and very reputable Julien Laurent. So, yeah, other than that, there's not really else. Right, let's talk about KESSIE then. I think KESSIE seems to be the one most mentioned there in the chat. So, let me see. Connor did send me an image. There you go. So, Frank KESSIE. A lot of people were asking me about him earlier on, and look, the honest answer is the reason that I'm not very warm to the idea of Frank KESSIE joining Liverpool is because I don't think there's much hope of Frank KESSIE joining Liverpool. So here's the situation. As is always the way, he's got 1 year left on his contract, and of course he's angling, or his agent will be angling, for a new deal, and a bumper new deal. They will also be well aware that AC Milan have now qualified back for the Champions League again. It's been a fair few years since they've been back in that competition. So this to me just reeks of a player who doesn't want to leave AC Milan, because he seems like he really doesn't, at least from what I've read anyway. And somebody who I don't see Liverpool really being the right fit for. He's 24 years of age, 184 appearances, 30 goals, 15 assists for AC Milan. Thank you to Connor for doing the legwork on that one. And he's in the last year of his contract. So it just doesn't seem a runner to me. I think he'll stay at AC Milan. He'll agree a new deal at AC Milan. Because he's valued at AC Milan. Because he's an integral part of that squad that had a very good season last year. So yeah, I just don't think there's anything to it personally. It's not that I don't think he's a good player, or I just don't think there's anything to it. So I don't let myself entertain those types of thoughts when I know deep down that it's probably all nonsense, to be honest. So, it doesn't strike me as a Liverpool player either, if I'm being honest with you, with the way that we play. Rather have a war, said Joseph Atkins. Not a Liverpool player, said Nad. Yeah, just like, it's not me saying Frank KESSIE isn't a good footballer, because Frank KESSIE is a good footballer, but I just don't think he's a Liverpool footballer, if that makes any sense whatsoever. And it probably doesn't, and I will give you that, because sometimes, and a lot of the time, stuff makes sense in here, but when it comes out here, it doesn't make sense to the rest of the world. So what makes sense in my head often isn't the same. KESSIE is a baller. Don't think we'll get him. He earns 8 million. He wants 10 to 12 mil. I don't know what he earns, mate. I couldn't tell you if you're right or wrong on that, but I'm sure you've seen the same thing as I have, is that apparently Liverpool are willing to offer him 7 million a year. So if you're right and the numbers that you're talking about are correct, then we're already going to be lowballing it, wouldn't we? So yeah, if those numbers are correct, then again, I think from the people I've spoken to, and mainly from reading the likes of Fabrizio Romano and stuff as well, who are obviously far more knowledgeable on Italian football than I will ever be. It looks like he'll stay at AC Milan. So I think that's a non-runner with Frank Kessie. I think we can put that one in the lazy journalism pile. I don't think that there's any truth to that one. The next one I want to talk about is this gentleman here, Samuel Chukwueze, somebody who has long been sort of linked with Liverpool. Now, there's talk that Rafa Benitez wants to bring Chukwueze to Everton as well. And I don't know if this is, again, being put out there or something's been lost in translation. But Samuel Chukwueze is too inconsistent from what I've seen to fit in at Liverpool. And I have seen a fair amount of him playing for Villarreal. And, he's somebody who's very raw, lots of ability, but not the finished product. And again, why should he be the finished product? He's still relatively young. But I think, again, I would believe more the side of it that Everton are being linked to him than Liverpool are being linked to him, because, Pedro Neto, the Jared Bowen stuff we'll get to, and I can understand those links. But again, this is one to me that if it had been mentioned 2 years ago, I might have thought, okay, but he's one of those names that just comes around every transfer window. And I don't think we're going to sign Samuel Chukwueze. If Rafa brings him to Everton, well, let's wait and see. But nah, not for me. He's too raw for me. I know that sounds weird, but when I talk about raw, I look at the likes of Leon Bailey, who's at Leverkusen. I look at the likes of who's the kid that's at Bilbao, whose name escapes me at this moment in time, but another raw, powerful winger that is that kind of bit. Adama Traore, another one I put in the category of a lot of pace, power, and directness, but a bit of a finished product lacking. But maybe Klopp views these type of players as a risk worth taking, because maybe he thinks he can give them the finished product. But it just doesn't strike me as a Klopp type of sign in this one. Again, who's the guy I'm trying to think of? The guy from Bilbao. This is going to annoy me till I think about his name. Sorry. Iñaki Williams. Thank you, Matthew. You're a legend. Yes, Iñaki Williams. That was the guy I was trying to think of. Yeah, I genuinely thought when he burst on the scene that he was going to be an absolute superstar. Samuel Chukwueze reminds me of that type of scenario. But yes, you guys are brilliant. Thank you. And Iñaki Williams was absolutely who I was trying to think of. Arathabal is a class winger, said Noah. I like Dani Olmo. If we're looking at Spanish, well, I know Samuel Chukwueze isn't Spanish, but he's playing in Spain. I like Dani Olmo if you were to look at anybody around that type. Jeremy Doku, helmets, has gone very quiet. Not really anything new that I've seen on Jeremy Doku. I will get on to talk about Pedro Neto in a minute. Don't worry for those coming in wanting to talk about him. Safe to say Mane was also really what? I can't even speak today, dude. I can't even speak. Andre said, safe to say Mane was really raw. I got it out that time, mate. When we brought him in from Southampton. I don't think he was as raw as this dude, though, mate. I mean, we'd at least seen him in the Premier League, so he had that. And Klopp spoke about the fact that he was tracking him since Salzburg. Now, that's not to say that Klopp hasn't been keeping an eye on Samuel Chukwueze for a very long time. And you have a fair point about Sadio Mane. I just don't think he was as raw as Chukwueze from what I've seen anyway. But again, it's all just hypotheticals really, isn't it? And names that are being linked. To me, it's one that I just don't think there's much sense to. So I would put it in the more likely to Everton than Liverpool pile, personally. And whenever I hear this, when a player's linked to both of our clubs, I often wonder, is it lost in translation somewhere in an article? Has somebody heard that a club in Liverpool are interested in blah blah, and then it goes through 3 or 4 different newspapers or whatever and eventually ends up at the wrong club? That's my thoughts on it. Anything on Isaac? No, he signed a new deal with Real Sociedad, Reece. So they had a £70 million release, or euro, €70 million release clause in his contract before the Euros, and he has since signed a new deal. And I can only imagine, although I don't know for a fact, that his release clause will probably have gone up. Let's move on to this gentleman here then, Pedro Neto. So look, the interest in Pedro Neto, I can absolutely say is real. Without a shadow of a doubt, because it's been a long held interest in Pedro Neto. Now, I don't know if Liverpool are ready to pull the trigger on a potential deal for Pedro Neto this summer. I think we probably would have been a lot closer to doing it had he not had an injury towards the middle end of last season that kept him out for quite a while. So I've no doubts about this guy. If we signed him tomorrow, I would go, yes, no problem, sound, that'll work, because I look at him and I see a club type player. I see somebody who's got a high work rate. I see somebody who's still young but yet experienced. I see somebody who's obviously come through a very good system in Portugal. Somebody who I know Pep Linders will know very well through the contacts that he has, and somebody who I know we've been scouting for a while, and somebody who's got Premier League experience. So I hope that there is some more concrete news on Pedro Neto. But from what I've always been informed of and read, I think that next summer would be more likely. Now, what we do have to take into account here is that Wolves are willing to entertain the sale of a few players. So those players would be like Ruben Neves, Adama Traore, and I don't know, maybe the resolve could be tested with Pedro Neto. But I will tell you one thing, I would have him in a heartbeat at Liverpool, no doubt whatsoever. When we were speaking about Daniel Malin, Rafinha, Pedro Neto, I mean, a few weeks back when we kind of didn't know what was what, I always got the feeling that of those three, and I've said it, you can go back and watch on the streams, I would have had Rafinha, yeah, but Neto was the one that I wanted of all of them, because I see a club player when I look at him. I see somebody who's got a bit of snidiness, somebody who can work hard, somebody who presses, somebody who's clever, somebody who's always looking to improve. And I do have a soft spot for a Portuguese footballer as well. You know, I do like Portuguese players, so they're usually very good technicians as well. We see the great work rate we have from Diogo Jota, and again, somebody who would have worked under the manager that he did at Wolves. I know he's since moved on to Spurs, but a manager that wouldn't suffer fools gladly, and you know, brought through a lot of good young Portuguese talent there at Wolves. So I'd like him. I mean, what do you guys think in the chat? Thumbs up or thumbs down? Tomorrow morning, I give you the option of Liverpool signing Pedro Neto or not. Yes or no? Let me know in the chat with a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And again, if you're watching this back later on, would love to know your thoughts on it. What have we got? Son signed a 4-year deal today. He did indeed, yeah, with Spurs, obviously. And again, it's very telling when you read about Son signing a 4-year deal with Spurs. He says what a lot of us think. He feels the love. He's always felt valued at Spurs. The club have always made him feel welcome. And he's had a very good career there at Spurs, so I'm not surprised he signed on. He's a fine footballer, Son. I really do rate him. Look at this from the chat, though. I mean, yeah, there's just a whole lot of yeses. So I think there's very, very, very few times when we're mainly all on the same page when it comes to a transfer. So yes, I love it. I love that we're all on the same page here. So we can fully hype up Pedro Neto now. Good. We'll give him a double chew. He's not Jadon Sancho, or not Jadon. Why do I think of Jadon Sancho now when I'm trying to say Jude Bellingham? Because of Dortmund and because of obviously United, and I'm bombarded with him all over my timeline at the minute. He's not a Jude Bellingham. A Jude Bellingham? A fucking Jude Bellingham, Craig? He's not a Jude Bellingham chew, but we'll give him a double chew. And yeah, look, let's wait and see what happens on this one. But like you guys, I really like him. Sorry, I'm having a bit of a mare. And again, when I see Connor at the top of the live chat there, pinning the subscribe to Craig station with an egg beside it. I mean, I'm getting trolled on my own channel here. By my own channel. Why is my membership not working? I paid for it, got a payment confirmation, but I'm still not a member. That is completely out of our control, Walter. We have no control over the memberships, other than to the fact that, you know, if you've paid, that's you take. No, this is going to sound really rude, mate, and I don't mean it to be, but I can't turn memberships on and off for anyone. As an example, I can't even give a free membership to my wife around. We've no control over that end of things whatsoever. So if you have paid, mate, which of course I take you at your word because you've been a member before, just you're gonna have to email Google and contact them, mate, because it's unfortunately not something that me and Connor can sort out. Unbelievably, I know you probably think I'm giving you the runaround, but genuinely we can't. Do I reckon FSG will only sign players as they have an agenda against 30 plus players or young players? Well, I don't think they have an agenda against them, mate. I think it's more like, as an example, we signed Thiago at 29, and yes, he's not 30, I'll give you that, but the right opportunity presented itself at the right time, and it worked for everybody. So they do seem to have an agenda against giving out contracts to people over the age of 30 for more than 2 years, but I do think we'll make a couple of signings, definitely, but like you, yeah, I don't think they'll be older players. What about Henderson's situation? Have the owners come back to their senses? Again, like all of you, I'm as annoyed, as frustrated, and as confused by the Jordan Henderson situation. And here's why I'm confused. Again, being completely open and transparent and honest. Let me just remove Pedro Neto from the screen so I don't confuse the hell out of myself in a second. Where is he? Right, let me just move that back up. So look, with regards to Jordan Henderson, here's where I don't get. Why we let it get to the point where it's coming to the media that he's unhappy, or that he's not feeling the love, or that he's not going to be offered a new deal. If you said to me that the club are going to let Jordan Henderson run down his contract because they want to see where he is at 33 years of age in 2 years' time, I would say that seems rational enough. But at the same time, I don't want the captain to be unhappy or feel like he's unloved, because we know it's not going to be from the manager or his fellow players or the coaches or the fans. So if the club don't want to give him a contract for longer than the 2 years that he has left, surely we can come to some type of compromise where he gets a small pay rise and, you know, an agreement that it'll be looked at again in 2 years, that he is valued, but we don't know how any player would be at 33. Does that make sense? It's easy me saying that, but I know if I was Hendo and I wasn't feeling the love, I'd be pissed off about it as well. And I'd certainly feel like I've certainly contributed to the club's success if I was him. And he's not one to go public very often, so yeah, it's confusing, but I'm worried about it, but I think it'll be resolved. I get the feeling it'll be resolved. Have you heard about agents only getting 10% next season, said Sarah Marshall. I haven't, Sarah, but, you know, I've long been somebody who's been rather outspoken about agents, so obviously we cannot lump all agents in the same brackets, because agents work with different levels of clients on different fee structures. Some of them do an amazing job, some of them are money grabbing gits, but what's always confused me, Sarah, is why on earth clubs pay agents. Should be the players' problem. I don't understand why in football it's one of the few sports where seemingly the clubs pay out millions. So, as an example, it was reported that Mina Raiola wanted somewhere around 40 million euro for himself if Haaland were to move this summer. Now, think about that for a second. So some club, if they signed young Haaland, is going to get themselves a cracking player. And whatever his cost is, his cost is. But the idea of an agent taking 40 million quid out of the game, out of fans' pockets, out of that club's money, for doing what exactly? Now, I'm sure he does work, but I'm also sure that he gets paid for that work that he does from his player, or his multiple players. And we see the situation with Raiola over and over again. Right now, if you're a Man United fan, you're pissed off because you're sick of hearing about Pogba. And I said this to Manchester United fans last year. You know, is the headache that Pogba has enough, or gives you enough to satisfy you the handful of great performances that he's given for United in a season? To me, my answer would be no. I'd be sick of it at this point and I'd want rid of the fella. And that's the Mina Raiola factor in my world. And that's why when we were linked with Daniel Malin and we found out Daniel Malin was represented by Mina Raiola, and then we heard about the links to Dortmund, I knew that he was most likely going to end up at Dortmund because of that cushy little relationship and the fact that one in, one out, potentially there again. And look, we've worked with Raiola before. You know, he was the agent of fucking Why Always Me, fucking Mario Balotelli, and I think one or two others maybe that Liverpool, that I'm aware of. But all in all, I think the super agents are greedy bastards and they take way too much money out of the sport. Sorry, I could have felt like I was ranting there for about 20 minutes. Craig, Chelsea confirms make a £130 million bid for Haaland. What are your thoughts? I'd be worried if they got him, of course, because he's a fine footballer. What confuses me, though, is more, not so much the Chelsea are in for, because anyone been in for Haaland, I'd understand. But what confuses me is what Manchester City are at. So, we've seen figures ranging from 100 to 150 million quid for Harry Kane. And all I can think of is that the only reason they want Kane is to try and get the Champions League. Because if you're looking at buying a forward from a perspective of, you know, value for money, potential resale value, or staying at the club for a very, very long time, then surely the answer would be Haaland, because clearly the money isn't going to be an issue with regards to what they're going to pay for Harry Kane. So it has to be one last roll of the dice to try and get that Champions League trophy. And it's a very, 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 very expensive roll of the dice if that's the game that Manchester City are going to try and play. So I'd understand Chelsea running after Haaland and paying that money a lot more than I would the Harry Kane one, to be honest. Support your local team. Support my nuts, you absolute gobshite. Get out of my chat, mate, with your fucking dinosaur opinions. Everybody will support whoever the fuck we want. If you want to support your local team, go ahead, Fionn. Enjoy it. Go there. Do you. Scream to your lungs' content. But don't think that you have any right to come on and tell any other human being how to act in any way, shape or form. If I want to support Scunthorpe, I'll support Scunthorpe. If I want to support Liverpool, I'll support Liverpool. If I want to support Timbuk fucking 2 Rovers, I will do it, mate. And gobshites like you won't change my mind, or shouldn't change anybody else's mind. Because all you are is a small-minded little fucking idiot that isn't even worth me wasting my time on. So I'm going to push on, mate. But just grow up, you absolute omadon. Like, it's the laziest argument of any gobshite that comes on to say anything to any of us, whether it's me or everybody else in the chat. Do you listen to music only from the town that you grew up in? Do you only buy food and clothes from the town that you grew up in? Do you only watch TV shows from the town that you grew up in? Of course you don't, you gobshite, because it's a multicultural world and we're all linked by the World Wide Web and we're all closer than ever. But yet somehow, mate, in your sense, so far away. So just fuck off, you Neanderthal. Oh. Idiots. My local team plays in level 5 in Norway, so Ramadan. I'm kind of in a weird catchment area for local teams as well, mate, because I'm kind of in a triangle between 3. But yeah, like, the state of it, honestly, support your local. Why? Because some no-mark that I've never met before, who probably hasn't left his ma's box room in a month, tells me to go support my local? Shut the fuck up! Oh, well, that stream's getting demonetised anyway because of that rant, but worth it. It's just laziness. I just don't get why people are just that ignorant. I really don't. It's just people like that hold the world back. So we've got so many great people that have so many great things to contribute, and I'm somebody that loves multiculturalism. I love people coming together. I love walking down the street when I see a new Nigerian shop or a new Tunisian shop or a new Italian place, or I love the smell, the sights, the sounds, the music. I love people coming together. I want the whole world to be a melting pot of opinions, of religions, of thoughts, of smells, of music. But then we have Mr. Support Your Bleeding Local over here, who, you're defo Brexit, mate, aren't you? Go on, tell me, if you're old enough to vote, you're defo gammon. 100% gammon. In fact, I'd nearly stake my life on it, mate. But, you know, you've a lot to learn in life, fella. But don't worry, Uncle Craig's got you covered. I'm here to teach you the ABCs of life. Anywho, let's move on, ladies and gents. What do we want to go with next after we finished roasting the little bitch that was... What's his name, Fionn? I don't even know if that was his name, but either way, Fionn, bet you wish you hadn't opened your trap now, fella. Or maybe you're thinking, oh, big angry bald man, shout at me happy, me mammy make me very tucking good tonight. Musialowski is so good. He is. He's a very talented young fella. I love the fact that he's not ashamed to admit that he openly, models his game on Leo Messi. And look, if he has a quarter of the talent that Messi has, then mwah, what a signing he looks like. We ain't culchies. A lot of the chat won't get that, mate, by the way. I get it, being Irish, obviously, but for people that don't, culchies basically means anybody outside of Dublin. For we call, from being from Dublin, anyone outside of Dublin was a culchie, basically. Craig, have you got the away kit yet? No, I'm far too chunky to squeeze into. I'm barely squeezing into this one, mate, so you don't need me squeezing into the away kit. Nobody needs to see that. Now, for you young'uns out there, are you people that, are gym rats and are in good nick, you have at it, but I'll have to leave you to it because, I'm not squeezing into that kit. There'll be nipples and man boobs everywhere. What have we got? I think Harvey wants to play more centre attack in midfield and central midfield. Yes, let's go on to talk about Harvey Elliott. Why not? Because there has been a lot of talk about maybe reinventing him a little bit. So we think of Harvey Elliott, initially we think of a wide attacking player. But what I've liked from the little glimpses I've seen in pre-season have been the link-up play between him and Mohamed Salah. I've got very, very excited about this already, even though it's only been 2 brief cameo appearances. But they look like they've got a good understanding on that right-hand side. And we spoke about partnerships around the pitch earlier on at the start of the stream. So we know that Naby and Sadio Mane obviously have a good friendship. So you think maybe they're on a similar wavelength. Mohamed Salah and Harvey Elliott seem to both have that tricky winger mindset as well on the right-hand side. Nice little 1-2s around them. And I like that. I like the idea of it. And if he is to maybe play in the hole a little bit in behind, yeah, I'm not against it in any way, shape or form. Which leads me into talking about Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. But before I do, I want to just come back to, is it Aibongwi? Undeluvu. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, dude. So Craig, you said you wouldn't buy the home jersey. You are spot on, mate. I did, but I caved. I had to buy one. I just couldn't go into the new season, and I didn't even like any of the training gear really. So you're right, I did say it, but I thought that the third strip was going to be the yellow and red pinstripe one, and it wasn't, or it doesn't look like it's going to be. So I bought this one. But you are right, I did say it. Right, what else we got? So Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain as, I don't want to say a number 9 because that's very unfair because we don't play with a number 9. Chamberlain through the centre, yes or no? Now again, I got to give credit where it's due. I was listening to Neil Atkinson of the Anfield Rap speaking about how he thinks Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain works better in any of a central position because he likes to be able to see the pitch. So if he's playing from a wide area, he's not as effective because he's got a good eye for a pass, and he likes to be able to see movement from both sides ahead of him, which is a very good point. But another point that he raised was he will take a little bit of extra training to get into the mindset of playing in that Bobby Firmino type role because sometimes he comes even too deep for... Look, we've seen Bobby drop deep at times to midfielders, but, when you've seen Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain come back picking up balls off centre-backs and the goalkeeper, it could be, that his mindset needs to be changed there, but if it's just for the point of view of occupying defenders, being able to link up, run from deep, create space for our wide players who then become very narrow, yeah, I get the idea behind it, but I think, again, a lot will come down to the manager's balls when it comes to making a big decision. So, again, like Neil Atkinson correctly said, will Klopp look to the bench, let's say, if we're 1-1 with Fulham, or not Fulham, with Norwich in the first game of the season, 20 minutes to go, will he look to the bench and go, I'm going to take off Bobby Firmino and bring on Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain in that role? And there, I think, lies the real answer to this question. It's great trying stuff in pre-season, but well, I'm sure the manager would have the courage of his convictions, but mainly, would it work? Would it work in the real world? And that, I'm not sure of, if I'm being entirely honest with you. But then again, that's been almost Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain's problem his entire career, hasn't it? He kind of suffers from a touch of the James Milner syndrome in that, in his head, he's a central midfielder or a midfielder, but he has been utilised in a whole lot of different positions, and maybe he still thinks of himself as that, central midfielder. So, yeah, interesting one there. Have I spoken about this new wonder kid, Bobby Clark? So apparently Newcastle are making it. Bobby Clark is a 16-year-old guy that plays for Newcastle, and it looks like Liverpool are very close to signing him. But it looks like Newcastle have offered him a new contract as a last-ditch attempt to try and keep him at the club. I think he'll end up at Liverpool. From what I read yesterday from a Newcastle site, they seem to think that it was far enough along that he could end up at Liverpool as well, and they were really angry about the prospect of losing Bobby Clark because they said that he's a tremendously gifted footballer who I don't know much about, I've got to be honest with you, but definitely a name to keep an eye out for. If I find out any more about how further along it is or not, I will of course let you guys know. Saul or Coutinho? Saul for me in that question, even though they're two very different types of players. Would you like to give Oxlade-Chamberlain a chance at number 9? In my opinion, he's very underrated. I'm all for the idea of giving Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain a chance somewhere because I do see what he can bring to the team. But I guess if I'm being really honest about it, I see his role more as an impact substitute than a starting 11 player for Liverpool. Somebody who can add energy from the bench when the defence is tiring, somebody who can be a bit more direct at times if we need to be, somebody who's absolutely not afraid to have a shot. So, yeah, I don't think he'll make the starting 11 on a regular basis, but I do think he can be a very useful player for us in the season ahead if he can stay fit. Hope that makes sense. Did somebody ask where I'm from? In which case the answer was Shankill, which Ryan has said, which is correct. Do you think Musialowski will have any involvement in the coming season? No, not this season. I think the plan is for him to step up to under 23s this season. He's still eligible to play with the 18s, but that's the next step in his development, isn't it? To put him into the under 23s and see how he gets on there. And look, if he hits the ground running for the under 23s, bangs in a shit ton of goals, who knows what might happen second half of the season. But the plan is for now is to buy, or to I say to buy because I was reading something out, to put him into the 23s. Did this dude put the same comment in again about me not buying the home kit? I thought I'd already answered that one like 5 minutes ago, fella. Craig, how are you sexy man? I'm all the better for you saying I'm sexy, mate. And he did say sexy. You're not just mishearing me saying the word sexy. He said sexy, which I'll take. Would I like Barnes over Neto? Do you know what? Yeah, I would. I won't lie to you. As much as I do like the idea of Pedro Neto, if you offered me him or Harvey Barnes, I'd take Harvey Barnes because I've always looked at Barnes and thought, God, he would be great in our system under Jurgen Klopp. And you do have that homegrown thing with him, so you know you'd have an extra overseas place to free up. But you know, don't get me wrong, Chester. I'm not angry if you sign either of them, fella. I'd happily have either of them. Nor do I think we'll actually sign either of them this summer, if I'm being honest. Who was your man of the match today? It's got to be Naby Reece, hasn't it? It has to be. I mean, it was fantastic in that first half. Did you know Owen Beck's great uncle is Ian Rush? Yes, but I didn't know it, Luke, until he signed that contract recently and I read it. But before that, I didn't know it. But yeah, there you go. Pedro Neto or Matheus Pereira? Neto. Yeah, Neto, definitely. Who do you think will partner VVD? At the start of the season, I don't even know if VVD will be the starting pair. You could see Kanade and Joel Matip start the season, depending on how Joe Gomez and Virgil van Dijk's recovery goes. So, for instance, after the match today, Kloppo was asked about whether we'd see them in the next game against Hertha Berlin, and he said no, he's not going to take any risks with them whatsoever. You know, which makes me think that we might not see them ready to go right at the start of the season. Now, I hope I'm wrong on that, but long term, I think we'll probably see Kanade partner and Van Dijk. I mean, look, if it is Joe Gomez, it's great. It's a great headache to have. If I didn't support Liverpool, who would I support? Newcastle, most likely. Could Naby replace Genie? Oh, don't be doing that game with me, Babosh. Don't be doing that game, mate. I play this game in my own head every single year when we get the... you know, he'll be like a new player. Because there's one every year, isn't there? Where, you know, he's coming back from injury and he'll be like a new player. But no, in answer to your question, I don't want them to replace Genie Wijnaldum. I want a Genie Wijnaldum replacement to replace Genie Wijnaldum because I want the squad to be as filled out as it needs to be to challenge across all four fronts this season. Do I like Canada? Yes, absolutely. He's not to finish the article, Ryan, but at 21, why would he be? Would I take Ward-Prowse? Sometimes I think yes, sometimes I think no. What leans me more towards yes is I hear that he's a great trainer, he's got a fantastic attitude, always willing to learn, obviously has an excellent set piece routine. So, yeah, I probably would take James Ward-Prowse, but you know, he wouldn't be somebody whose name would be at the top of my list when I think of players I'd like at Liverpool. What's your favourite Irish club? Shelbourne. Have I ever been to Donabate? Yes, indeed I have. Any news on Henderson's contract? Not that I'm aware of. Penguin, no updates. Harvey Elliott on loan again? No, he'll be staying with the first team this season. Yeah, he's in the manager's plans. Sell Oxlade-Chamberlain, Minamino and Origi. Origi, look, I think he'll move on. He's been linked with West Ham and a couple of other clubs, and I think we will see Divock Origi move on. Regardless, I don't think he's gonna make it at Liverpool. Look, I just don't. I know he's had his moments, but I don't think he's consistent enough. Minamino, the plan at this moment looks like he's gonna stay. Oxlade-Chamberlain certainly won't be going anywhere. He's gonna stay. Even though there have been links to him and Naby Keita moving away, which is what I spoke about before. So there's a piece out there that suggests that Liverpool could be willing to cash in on Naby Keita and Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain this summer, and that comes from ESPN. Excuse me. I don't see how in any way, shape or form, unless it's to do with length of contract, that anybody could think that Liverpool will get more money now for Naby Keita than we might do if he has a good season. I can only think it must be to do with contract, because I would say his stock before today's little cameo was probably at a pretty low point right now. Same with Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain after the frustrating injury-ridden year that they both had. So, yeah, I don't think so. Jared Bowen, yeah, I'm a bit nonplussed by Jared Bowen. It's not exciting me. It's semi-sensible, but I think for 35 million, again, I wonder, are we ticking a box with the homegrown stuff? I genuinely, it just doesn't put lead in my pencil. You know, and nor should thinking about any footballer put lead in my pencil, but yeah, I don't know, it's just hard to get on board that one. Like, I mean, yeah, he could probably do a job, and yeah, if Klopp backs him, there's obviously something about him, but it's not one that I'd rather Neto. I just would. What have we got? Should I come to Liverpool? Yes, Pedro Neto, you should absolutely come to Liverpool, mate. And while you're on the way over, mate, you should send me a signed shirt as well, if it wouldn't be too much hassle for you, fella. Which Premier League games would Mo and the others miss during the AFCON? Oh Jesus, I don't know off the top of my head, buddy. 2 or 3 games by the sounds of it, and maybe a league cup game or a domestic cup game, but 3 maximum league games, which is good news, because it could have been a lot worse. Who's your top 4 this season? Same as last season, but I don't know in what order, mate. I don't think anybody's going to be good enough to displace Liverpool, United, City and Chelsea. Yeah, so I think it'll be them 4, but I have no idea in what order. What else have we got? Couple more bits and pieces before we finish up. Who would you sign? I like this. I like where I get given the reins of the football club. See, the thing about Neto is the injury. That was what would stop that this summer in my head. So, who would I sign? Jeremy Doku and... I'm going to say Saul, and hear me out. The reason I'm going to say Saul is because we've lost experience in Gini Wijnaldum, and although Saul's 26, he's still very experienced, and there's another reason. So I'm keeping one eye and one bit of my mind on the Jordan Henderson scenario, and I'm thinking, right, if we don't know what's going on with Henderson, the age profile of the midfield is getting a bit older, and that's where my mind goes to Jude Bellingham for next summer, which is, you know, the choo. So Saul probably would be who I'd bring in the midfield role. I do like the idea of another steady, you know, battle-worn, battle-proven midfielder who has been there and done it at the top level, so, and is pretty bulletproof when it comes to injuries. So yeah, I'd say Saul, and then see what happens with Hendo, and then next summer, you know, try to bring in Jude Bellingham. The absolute state of this Crofty gobshite, honestly, mate, it takes us 2 seconds to just hit the ban button. So you can go through as many of your bullshit fake accounts as you want. Waste your own time, mate. The mods will just go click, bang, banned. So whatever, fella. You're not just a sad bastard, really. I don't know what else to say. We've banned him loads of times, Mick. He keeps coming in on multiple accounts. I've banned him personally twice. So yeah. Craig, you're so hot. I mean, that can only purely be from a temperature gauge because I'm an ugly, bald, overweight SOB. But, you know, I am warm. So technically you're correct. Doku, Tielemans and Max Aarons is what Loopy Loof said. That's a deadly name, by the way, Loopy Loof. Thank you for making me smile, fella. It's pronounced Wijnaldum. It's pronounced whatever I say it is, mate. When the words come out of my lips, they get pronounced however the hell I want them to. So if I want to say Wijnaldum, I'll say that. If I want to say Genie Wijnaldum, I'll do that. But I'll pronounce it however the fuck I want. You can say it however you want. And look, I'm nothing if not consistent in my horrendousness of my pronunciations. Am I not consistent? I always get everything wrong. Ever been to Knockline? Yes, I have. I went out with a girl from Knockline before. Yeah, I'm just making sure she's not listening upstairs. Do you know what I mean? And by the way, dude, I'm only messing about the Wijnaldum thing. It's all banter back and forth. Don't worry about it. I'm I'm in a good mood, believe it or not. I'm in a good mood today. But yeah, nothing but love, mate. I'm only winding you up. Virgil, next skipper. Yeah, see, I had this conversation with Connor, and I think you're right. For me, if we had to find a new skipper for the reason that I don't even want to mention, to me it would be between Virgil van Dijk and Andy Robertson. That would be the two names that I would have at the forefront of my mind to be the next Liverpool captain. I don't know how everybody else feels, but to me, Van Dijk and Robbo would be the two at the top of my list. Am I married? I am, yes, mate. I am married. Sprina! How many years are we married? How many years since you tricked me into marrying you? I think it's 8 years we're married. We're together 20. 21 in October, but I think we're married. Hang on, it's either 8 or 30. Oh, fuck's sake. When do we get married? Oh, I'm dead. She's up there going, fucking. You're gonna get me killed. When do we get married? So 14 years. So none of them. 14 years is how long we're married, and we're together 21 in October. But yeah, cheers, mate, for letting me know. Oh, fuck, I'm dead. Dead man walking. The only thing that might get me off there is that she took a minute to give an answer as well. So there you go. Anniversary date, the 1st of March. It's written on my arm. That's the only reason I know. Although then I should know what year we were married in as well, shouldn't I? Yeah, the 1st of March 2007. Yeah, there you go. So yeah, and it genuinely is written on my arm in Roman numerals. You can probably see it here. I probably should have looked at that actually before answering, shouldn't I? Is Bamford Irish? Not that I'm aware of. Although, if he has Irish roots, yeah, he's defo Irish, and we should be signing him up to the national team immediately. Do I think Jones will be a consistent starter? Yes, but not because of the reason that I want to say yes for. I think injuries may give him more chances, and I think he'll take those chances. So, yes. Craig, have my wife and kids. I'm trying to get rid of my own, mate. I'm not at a point where I'm taking on other people's. Do you know what I mean? So who's got a sofa for me to sleep on is basically what I want to know here, because I'm defo in the bad books. Right, what else have we got? Who would win, KSI or Jake in a boxing fight? You know I don't want to say this because I love KSI and I'm all in. I'm all KSI, Team JJ all the way. But I genuinely think that Jake Paul would win in a boxing fight. And it kills me to say that because I don't like the lad whatsoever. No, I think if he fights an actual boxer, he'll get his ass handed to him. But I honestly do think that he's too well coached and trained now, that he's constantly been in it. Like, I know JJ's got in great shape and he's had a fantastic career to date, and his, you know, congratulations on his album going #1 and all that stuff, but I honestly think that Jake Paul would win, and it kills me to say that. Who's your second favourite Premier League team? Newcastle. I don't know why, by the way. I just think maybe Geordies are another group of people that I think I'd get on with, so I like their sense of humour and stuff. So JJ knockout 5th round. I mean, look, that would make me a very, very happy dude. I would pay for that fight. I didn't pay for the KSI Logan Paul fight, but I did pay for the Logan Paul Mayweather exhibition, and I would pay to see JJ fight Jake Paul. In fact, I'd try and go to it if I could. Fred or Thiago? Are you alright, Jake? Have you banged your head or something, mate? Fred or Thiago? You genuinely, with a straight face, asking me who's better, Fred or Thiago? Fred or Thiago? Do I watch UFC? I do, but I'm a casual fan. I'm a huge boxing fan, far more knowledgeable on that, but I'd be a casual UFC fan. I enjoy it, but just don't know enough about it. Do I think KSI Jake Paul will actually happen? I honestly have no idea, mate. I've no idea. I think if JJ wants it to happen, it would happen. I think the ball is probably in KSI's court on that one. But I also love the fact that KSI's been able to just go off and live his best life. Do you know what I mean? He hasn't stressed and worried about what Jake Paul has to say. The man's gone out there, lived his dream, made music, having a great life, and I'm oddly proud of him for somebody I don't know. Anybody who's out there living their best life and smiling like he is and projecting positive vibes into the world, I'm a fan of. You can take that for granted. So yeah, I'm always going to be Team KSI, not because I know him, not because I'm a regular super fan or anything like that. I just like someone that puts out positive vibes, and he does it, and I like people that are that way. Same way I like Jack, mate. I like people that make the world laugh and spread positivity, and they're two good dudes. Jake or Woodley? Tyron Woodley, 39, coming off the back of, I think, 3 losses in a row in the UFC before he retired. It's a fight that I won't give Jake Paul credit in no matter what happens. So if Jake Paul beats Tyron Woodley, I'll still say he hasn't fought a boxer yet and his record is pants. Now, there's 2 sides to that story, by the way. There's the me sitting here as a boxing fan saying that Jake Paul hasn't fought a boxer, but there's the other side of that coin where when boxers are coming through and boxers are fighting journeymen and fighting, you know, just getting their foot in the door and getting used to being a boxer, they don't make as much money as Jake Paul is making. So whatever we say about the caliber of opponent he's faced and whatever, for tune-up fights to get himself into boxing, he's very clever about the way he's manufactured this little niche and these paydays for himself. So, you know, knock him all you want, but that's clever. And, you know, you got to give respect where it's due on that one. Because usually when you're becoming a boxer and you're, you know, at that level where you're fighting 4 or 6 rounders, you're selling tickets, you're under pressure and you're not getting paid that well. Whereas he's gone out there and got himself some big, big paydays. So love him or hate him, You got to respect that the man knows how to make a pound note. Yasir said Thiago or Kevin De Bruyne. De Bruyne. Look, I'm realistic, buddy, to be honest. I mean, Thiago's great. I love him so gratefully he's at Liverpool. But De Bruyne is one of the nearest things I've ever seen to Steven Gerrard. So, yeah, I'll be honest. I'd take De Bruyne in that one. Do I think Neto will sign? I'm going to say yes, but I don't know if it'll be this summer. But I do think he will end up at Liverpool. I just don't know if it'll be this summer or not. Usyk or AJ? Well, I'm hoping to be there in person to find out. So, you know, as I'm sure you guys are aware, I've told you before, I turn what you humans would call 40, what I call 39.1 in September. So falls rather nicely into the Joshua Usyk fight. So, you know, my missus had her 40th last month, and we went out shopping for the day, and I'm still crying at the credit card receipts. But, you know, payback's a bitch. So for my 39.1st, I've decided that I want to go to the Usyk fight. So myself and Connor are going to try and do a vlog of it. So we've booked the hotels, we've booked the flights, we've booked the car hire, and all I need to do now is when the tickets go on sale, hope that we can get our hands on two. I have been put in contact with somebody at Matchroom who might be able to help us buy a couple of corporate tickets, which, you know, is the way I want to do it, because you only have these occasions once in your life, so fuck it, why not? So I'm hoping to be there in person to see the answer to that question, but I would say AJ. I just don't know if Usyk will have enough power to gain his respect. He'll definitely have enough ring generalship. Well, he's probably one of the best all-round boxers you're going to see, and amazing footwork. I just don't know if moving up from cruiserweight, he'll be like Chisora walked through a lot of what Usyk was able to throw at him, and I know that he's building his way into the division, but it's an intriguing one, put it that way. Right, Craig, you're a legend. Thanks for being you. Well, thank you for watching me, mate. I've said this before, I will say it again. I have no idea why anybody watches anything or listens to anything that I have to say. You're all idiots, but I respect it and I love it and I appreciate it, but I don't get it. I say it to my wife every day, I don't get it. I don't get that this can be a job. I don't get that this whole ecosystem and industry exists. I don't get any of it. I am a boomer, and I feel like I am blagging this shit till the wheels fall off. So as long as you guys are still here when I turn the computer on and we have a bit of fun, I'll continue to do it. So with that, I'm going to go and prepare the sofa now for my night's sleep. What's your Discord? Discord's for members only, mate, so we don't have one for non-members. So if you want to join our Discord group, Jordan, you could have just became a member, dude, for what you just sent in there as a super chat. The Discord group's for our members, as well as the Anfield Agenda emojis and the badge beside your name and all the other stuff. And oh yeah, we do have memberships. I should probably try and flog them more, but you know, it is what it is. Look, I'm going to go, ladies and gents. Lots of love to you all. I'll chat to you tomorrow, I'm sure. Subscribe to Craig Station, even though Connor, being an arsehole, put an egg beside at the top of it there just to troll me. So yeah, get over there. I'm recording it in. I can tell you who the first interview was with, actually. Al Foran, another great guy to come out of Ireland. I say another, like I'm including myself in that, but Al Foran is a genius when it comes to impressions, and somebody who I've long been wanting to sit down and have a chat with, and that's going to be recorded on Wednesday. So he is a United fan, but we won't hold that against him, but his impressions are top notch. He just put out a great video today where he did, I don't know if it was 20 or 30 impressions in 2 minutes, but it was amazing, and I'm looking forward to sitting down with Al and have a chat. So that'll probably be the first interview out on Craig Station. I'm working on pinning down a time with the Pie Face. Want to get Jack on for an interview, and a few other names who haven't confirmed yet, so I can't say yes or no to. But yeah, some good stuff ahead. So keep it tuned. Lots of love. Take